All right. Well, good evening. Welcome everybody to the Rally Point. First and foremost, how was everybody's Christmas?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Got to spend it with family and you.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Same thing, just family hanging out. It's good.
Yep, about the same.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome, folks. Let me take a second to introduce myself. My name's Dan. With me, as always, is my brother Brian, my little buddy Silas. Tonight we got friend of mine, Tyler, sitting down with us, and we're just going to get together and we're going to rap. We started this whole project basically because as the world keeps getting screwier, people are going to need answers. And I personally, myself, I'm a Bible-believing Christian. My worldview and my worldview is going to be filmed through a biblical lens. And that is the only truth that I found in these last 2 years, because whether you're awake or you're asleep, if you're asleep, you're still waking up. And if you're awake, you know how screwy things are going to get. So, Tyler, thanks for joining us tonight. And, yeah, guys, what with the new year being brought in and stuff like that, what's everybody's New Year's resolution?
I know I don't have one. I'm just trying to save some money. That's about it.
Yeah.
Take a few more vacations, I think, for me. I don't want to do anything that I will not do. So I figure, my resolution will be to take another vacation this year.
There you go.
Because I'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
I hate doing resolutions because every year I break them. But I think that's what a resolution's for. This year it's going to be the same as last year. Save money and just try to buy assets. Try to be more of an entrepreneur. But that's something I've always been wanting to do for ever since I really knew what it was about. So
Nice.
that's my resolution.
Outstanding. I'm just hoping to make it to see 2024, man.
Yep, me too.
That's a good resolution to have.
Yeah, it's great. Anybody been paying attention to the gas prices? You notice they jumped 30 cents overnight? No, what did we just say it was?
It was a little less than, it was probably like 8 cents for BJ's and
Yeah,
one
8
gallon.
cents. 8 cents overnight, man. That is just crazy.
Bring it
Tyler,
back up.
Tyler, again, I want to say thanks for sitting down. It's very refreshing to have a young man sitting down, and I've known you since
16 years old for
Yeah.
me, so
yeah,
11 years now.
yeah, and it's I've had the privilege to watch you grow, not only as a man, more as a fighter than anything else.
Yeah.
And with the way men are being portrayed and things like that, and I see boxing just came out with a transgender division. Strictly
Not surprised.
I have no problems with it.
It's
don't have a
better.
problem
It's
with that
better
either.
than a grown man in a women's division beating women,
Yes.
Oh, amen to
Absolutely.
that. Amen to that.
because it's already happened and it's not pretty.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you've had the privilege of training a very, very skilled young lady, and I mean, as skilled as she is, I mean, she fought at what, like the 150 weight class, something like that. And I know if she were to get in a ring with a 155-pound man, I mean, as dangerous as she is, and
Yeah.
she's legit.
One of my main training partners was a female, and she was as good as they could probably come without being at a world class level. And she turned into my second main training partner in sparring, and she gave it to me. But the moment I kind of push up that pace, and now you're talking about the strength and the body difference and density of being able to absorb some harder shots, that's where that difference comes in. But she was an animal.
Yeah, she's a legitimate savage. I trained with a couple females like that, and again, it's like you said. I mean, a lot of them can hold their own, and there are those that can take me to the house, but
100%.
they're the exception to the rule by and far. Now,
It's the whole same thing with from in the military, women in combat roles. I knew quite a few that could absolutely take people to the house, but the majority, that's not how they're built.
yeah, out of a platoon of 60 women, you got what,
Yeah.
one, maybe two that are going to take you to the cleaners.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, now everybody knows that the economy's going to crap. Nobody knows what's going on and things like that. You're a homeowner, correct?
Correct.
Outstanding. And if you if you don't mind me asking, from your perspective right now, you are of the younger generation. I was talking to a young man earlier today, and he couldn't recite the Pledge of Allegiance because it hadn't been taught to him the last 5 years of his public education. And what do you guys see coming out? I mean, you guys are more closer to that generation in the schools where this indoctrination and stuff is coming from than where we're at. I mean, we're looking at it from a parent
standpoint.
Yeah. You guys are looking at it as a peer group, and by far, I know the both of you, Silas and Tyler, and you guys are definitely the exception to the rule nowadays. What happened? Who let you guys down? Who let the other kids down? I mean, what went wrong that led us to this point where we're at, where people are afraid to speak who they are, people are afraid to be who they are, and frankly, people nowadays don't know who they are anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, real quick before we get too far into that, how old are you, Tyler?
I'm 27.
27. Okay,
Mhm.
so you're not that far removed from the gentleman we were talking to earlier.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah. And Silas, you're 20.
I'm 24. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you're even closer.
24
So
homeowner. As far as that question, in high school, I was in the grade where you didn't have to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. You didn't have to participate. You could leave the room. You could leave the room anytime to use the bathroom. There was no really strictness on that. My high school, or my senior year in high school, I wore headphones in every class. Teacher didn't say nothing. So as far as like being educated, in high school, it was all really self-paced. Each kid had its own obligation to class, but it was really all up to the kid to really learn that subject or just barely pass. And so to go into more depth, the way the grading system was, it was 80% test, 20% for everything else. So you had kids just showing up, not paying attention, and they'll barely pass, and they'll pass the class because they got a 72 on the test. Everything else was just, blah, 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 class participation. So school was a joke, in my opinion. And with that being said, it starts with the educational staff. They saw it as a job, not really a career. A lot of them didn't really fall in love with it. Specific ones did, and those ones are the ones that helped me motivate myself to continue to learn. And so kids not knowing the Pledge of Allegiance, it starts with educators not teaching kids how to learn, but instead just giving them tests to pass so that they can continue to get paid and schools can continue to keep moving kids forward and at the end of it all, make money.
So it was, okay, so that's one thing that it was the corporate,
Right.
the corporate style push them through
It's
and
a
things
giant
like that.
ball of, I guess you could say corporate bull crap, but in the educational world, it's more of like, what's the word for it?
It's like it's stale.
Yeah.
It's just, this is all it is.
Mm-hmm.
This is, you have to do this. It has to be this that you have to pass to pass.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Okay.
no different routes and options to be successful in school. So, me in school, I graduated in 2014, and they made it sound like the only route was college. I wasn't interested in it. I wanted to go into law enforcement and the military. College wasn't an option, right? It just wasn't. I wasn't mentally not built for it. You know me.
Yeah.
So, it sucked because there's no classes there that really taught me life skills. And I became a homeowner at 23 years old, and nothing in school taught me how to be a homeowner, what to look for when I buy my house.
Like you mean as far as like structural stuff or just
Structural,
getting the better deal?
Either structural or just financially.
Okay.
Like, what happens when you close on a house? I didn't know that until sitting at the table to close on my house with my attorney, other than my parents, like, explaining things to me.
Yeah.
But some kids don't always have that privilege of having.
Me at 30 was the same way, man.
Yeah.
Buying my first house.
Yeah.
I had no idea what the process was going to be.
Right.
That nobody prepares you for that. Just like taxes, nobody prepares you how to do. Why aren't they teaching that stuff in school?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And the
How to
one
do
class.
taxes.
Now, okay, so you were in high school closer when I did. You learn how to balance a checkbook in school?
No, I don't
Did you?
believe so.
There was probably something in elementary school.
Elementary school, damn.
I mean, I learned. Yeah, I mean, I think they taught us for like a day of how to fill out a check,
Okay,
but
so
not to actually balance one out and all that other
We
stuff.
actually had a class that was the whole thing, man. You had money and you'd write a check
Yeah.
out and how to write out the check, how to balance it.
yeah, that's what I remember.
That's what
Okay,
I learned.
so, so you guys are both young men with old man problems. Okay, mortgage, bills to pay, things like that. What could have been done better with the public education system to set you guys up better? Be it a class, a learning experience, just something. Because where we're at right now, we're not. Everybody's sitting around bitching about what the problems are, but very few people are getting down to what we can do to fix the problem. I mean, if you get a flat tire, you can bitch about the flat tire, but unless you get in there and change it, you're still going to have a flat tire. So what can we, and now you guys as well as tax-paying citizens in your communities, what should we be looking for to help these children? What ideas can you guys come up with as the younger generation? Because one thing I have noticed is not very many younger people are as confrontational as us old people are. So what can we do to help you guys?
Like we said earlier, the school system is more. The education system is like a corporate, and we need to. I don't know what you would have to do with them, but they just need to put more options out there for these kids, and it expands their minds. I mean, if you have options when you have a goal, you're going to expand your mind to look at all those options. So if you have a ton of valid options of what you can do to learn, to be successful, do it. I mean, there's so many different options you could put in just the 4 years of high school.
Yeah, but look at all the options that they've given these kids nowadays, and look where we've ended up.
Right.
Like this is what I'm trying to figure out, because I have a very old school way of thinking, which I am working on, not necessarily changing, but I'm working on opening my minds up. I live my life in black and white. I don't believe in the gray. All right. Like you said, offer these kids options. Look at the options we've offered them, and look where it's gotten us. So,
But are they offering them the right options, or are they just saying your options are to go to college and you need to get a college degree in order to be successful in life? Or are they saying, hey, you know what, take a look at the trades, let's look at this, let's look at that. The options that they're giving are not the type of options that will help set them up to be successful. That's what you need in life at school, is to have an option to be successful in life. And not just go to college, get a piece of paper, be $100,000 in debt as soon as you get out of school at 21 or whatever age you finish.
When I was in school, there was nothing. Every single business class, which was the closest to tools you might use in life, talking about entrepreneurship. I did a criminal justice class, which was necessary for me. But those are the only those classes. Every single business class that I thought was more beneficial in life was all about college. All about college.
no matter what, it was
I had
pushing
to-
you to go to school.
Right. I had to do a report about a college, a random college that I wanted to go to when I didn't want to go to college. It made zero sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing there about the trades. There's nothing really there about starting a business if you're serious about it. It's just to talk about it.
Yeah, everything's done in theory.
But yes, and there's nothing there to put you on the path to start a business.
Nothing there to show you how to start an LLC
Nothing,
or
right.
anything like that.
Nothing.
See,
I don't even know what that is.
An LLC. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm learning about it now too. Like, this is all stuff that I wish I would have bet. I mean, Silas, he's one of the few that I know that knows about the LLCs and stuff like that. So now here's do you think they teach us the way we teach us, so we never gain access to the big club that is pushing everything that's going through in society nowadays? Because it just seems like the more and more that we try to go back to traditional ways of education and traditional ways of thinking and of living our lives, we're pushed further and further and further into the closet. We're shouted down and things like that. if you were to have kids right now, both of you, all right, would you send your kids through public education or would you figure out homeschooling? I'm fielding this one to Silas first.
My kids would be homeschooled. They would have some. They'll be homeschooled until probably middle school, because I think at that young age they have a lot more ability to learn. So during that time, hopefully, I have enough time to sit there and teach my kids. But I would love to just show them everything, show them finances, show them how to buy a house at 8 years old. If a kid can go to the gym at 8 years old and work out, become a beast by the time he's 16, a kid can sit there and read a finance book and be
Okay.
fine.
Okay. All right. I never
Yeah.
thought of it that way, but okay.
Yeah, so for me, I bought a house at 20. The reason, or the way I got to that point was I didn't have a lot of money, but I researched different programs that I could apply to get funding for a house. And so I actually didn't even pay for my house. I got paid to buy the house because of my research, and also I met the requirements at the time at 20 years old. Actually, I was 19, almost turned 20.
Mm-hmm.
So kids need to be taught not just how to learn, but how to do research. They need to be taught how to see what is good information and what is bad information. And I think that needs to be taught at a super young age.
Okay, people need children, people in general, just need to be taught how to think critically again. Is that what it is, or they just need to be presented with tools that aren't being presented?
I think kids need to think critically for themselves, and the tools that the parents give them or the teachers give them, sometimes it could be a hindering block. Sometimes it can waste the kid's time.
Mm-hmm.
You put a kid in front of a TV for a long time. What does that teach them? Mickey Mouse is teaching them what? Nothing. That's a tool for parents to educate their kids. All it's doing is rotting his brain out.
If you ask me, Mickey Mouse is teaching them all about this occult symbolism and pedophilia and everything like that. I sat down and had the privilege of watching a couple parts of the Disney Pixar or whatever it is, Zootopia, last night. Go check it out. Watch the movie in a whole different way. It's insane.
You said that about the other one too.
Yeah, Aladdin. Yeah. Well, what about you, man? If you had kids, would you dump them into public education or figure out how to homeschool them?
I would. I agree with a lot of what Silas said. I would definitely start with homeschooling. I feel like those young years of a child's life is crucial to building up what they're gonna be.
Yeah.
Setting up the morals, and we're Christian families. We're all born again, my family, and so I really hold on to those Christian values as well. And obviously, even though I'm young, I still like to say I hold on to the traditional American values, and I think that's important.
Oh, okay, so what are your traditional American values? Like, what does that mean to you? Because we're sitting here and we're wrapping a lot of ideologies, a lot of viewpoints and things like that, but and we're using very broad terms, but we're not like American values going to mean, what does it mean to you, just so we know we're on the same page and things like that, because everything can be somewhere along the line words started meaning different things to different people. Mm-hmm. So in the attempt to not offend you, Tyler.
Never that. Trust me, you'll not offend me.
No, go ahead, man. I just want to break your stones.
Yeah, the best way I could put it as a traditional American value is, look, the things that we have, so many other places don't have. Our education system, which, you can go to school for free pretty much, right? You could be whatever you want. You just got to work for it. You make your own. They call it the American dream for a reason. People died trying to get to this country. Like I said, we're a Christian family. We have a right to believe in that and love our God free willingly. Guess what? We love guns. That's our right. Yeah. Not many countries can't do that.
So being the age you're at, what do you say to young Americans, male, female, whoever, that don't see those beliefs, that don't see things the way you see them, Because I know when I talk to the younger generation, it's they listen out of respect, but at the end of the day, it's the okay boomer, you know.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Yes,
Yeah. I know better than you.
yes. So I mean, like you said, you never lived in a third world country. You haven't been to war that I'm aware of, but you recognize these privileges, these blessings that we have living in this country that we live in. How do we convey those to the younger generation, to people of your age and younger that are of the mindset that America's trash, God's a joke, I come from nothing? And I'm leaving this open to both of you guys.
I would say do your research. You don't have to agree with the facts, but the facts are there. You can't say we're wrong. You have a right to disagree with it, though. I mean, no matter where you go in the world, every single country in the world has somewhat of a rough history. And America has a history where we did great things and we did not so great things. But guess what? We're the greatest country in the world that you'll get so much here that you will never get anywhere else in this world. So to me, it's you might not agree with me, but at least look at the facts of how we got to where we are in this country, how we became such a powerful, free country for people. I mean, we all have ancestors that came from another country, most of us. They came here for a reason. They didn't just say, I need a different
I'm bored. I'm bored. Let's sail across the ocean.
Yeah, I'm bored. Let me put my whole life earnings and savings on the line to rebuild a life for my family. And then you look at what you become and your grandkids and so forth. Now you have generations of people. But no one looks to the roots of what started here. So, I mean, I would say personally, they have to just look at the facts because I feel like they only look at what they want to look at. What's convenient for them to agree? Because there's facts that I don't agree with them, but they're there.
Oh, okay, name one. Like what fact do you agree with, but it's there? Like,
or a fact that I don't agree with, but it's there?
Yeah, like it's true, but you don't agree with it.
This whole sexual stuff with kids, it's happening. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. This sexual transformation with kids and saying a 13-year-old could go have a sex change without mom and dad's consent. It's happening.
I see what you're saying.
Stuff like that.
Okay.
And then to them, they could sit there and say, well, you don't need a gun. Well, I say, yeah, I do need a gun. I don't agree with the Second Amendment. Even though the Second Amendment's there, black and white, been there for 2,000 years or whatever. It's not 2,000.
Yeah, but how do you convey to them that because we are allowed to feel the way we feel, we don't have to feel the same about everything. I don't have to believe that you are allowed to have a gun. I am not imposed that I have to have a gun. How do you convey that is what makes this country the greatest country on earth?
I would tell them look at other countries and what they've gone through, honestly. I mean, there's countries where they don't have the freedoms that they have and they're dragged out of their homes and beaten just because they disagree with one party.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I've done work in nursing homes and stuff like that back when Trump first came to office, and I had the privilege of working with a very she's just an awesome lady. She was originally from Venezuela, very fluent, spoke 6 different languages and things like that. And she was asking me, like, why are these young kids screaming for socialism? Why? What is the point? Like, this is what I ran from. Why are they ushering it in? I mean, do you just? But I don't like. I very generically, I could sit down and just say it's a lack of experience. It's a lack of experience on the younger generation's part.
It's a lack of education.
Well,
not just experience, but education. They're taught that these things, like we've all seen it in the news. There's teachers teaching these kids that socialist way is the way to live. Capitalism is horrible. It's the devil and this, that, and the other. But that's what they're teaching these kids. That's why they're all out there screaming, "Oh, socialism, socialism, socialism." But you know what? Every person that I've talked to that has come to this country and earned their citizenship are more grateful for the freedoms that they have now than they ever had in their own country. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just mind-boggling to me that somebody from another country can come here and say, this is the greatest place in the world. I came here because of that. Yet, the kid that's lived here his whole life is like, yeah, this place sucks.
They came here for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason why everybody comes
Right.
here and not everywhere else.
Yeah, there's a reason the
Yeah.
boats and planes only go one way.
Yeah.
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 I kind of want to go off of that.
All
So
right.
kind of looking at different countries and then zooming out to continents and seeing the human race as a whole, 8 billion people. You break that back, you go zero back in, you break that back down into societies. And each continent has its own society. In the countries, each country has its own society. And even each state kind of has its own way of doing things. That's why our government's built the way it is with our federal government separated from the states and so on and so on. Pretty much what we're making is these tiny little micro societies. And then we're putting it in this giant pot and we're mixing it all together. The problem with that is there's bad in the world. It's pretty basic.
Mm-hmm.
And so you mix that into with a little bit of good and you see, they have beaches down in the Bahamas. I want to live in the beach. Or that economy is better, or the military there is better, so I feel more safe going there. So what we're talking about is so broad and so deep. It's really what we're talking about is the human race as a whole. And for young people, I feel like we see that because we're on social media all the time. We see the world as it is, and that scares the shit out of us as young people because we have no education. We have no knowledge of actually what's going on and how we're all connected together as the human race. Not to get too deep, but it's this topic right here is probably one of the hardest topics to talk about because there is no real leader. And that's my opinion on this thing is that we really don't have a leader to follow. And so as America, the greatest country in the world, the one thing that I would choose to say that we need help in, and that's leadership. I think America needs a leader.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess we could say Donald Trump was a great leader. But like I was saying with society, there's always somebody else that wants to take control and take leadership.
Mhm.
And so we just have this constant internal battle of
Yeah.
where are we going to lead this next generation?
And I've thought about that. Like, I've always said, I wish I was capable of stepping up to be a leader and represent what I value, what I believe, because I know there's so many people that are just silent, that are kind of flying under the radar,
Looking for that leader.
and they're just
Yeah.
kind of waiting for the green light to step up and just
Yeah.
let their voices be heard in this country. And
We were talking about that earlier.
yeah,
You know,
and it's like I'm in the same boat. It's like I'm passionate about what I believe it. I'll
Yeah.
take it to the grave. You're not changing my mind.
Yeah.
You're not. And it's just, I'm like, what do I do? I mean, I'm not just going to go down to the city and protest. But it's like he said, we need a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been all sorts of different groups that kind of come out of the woodworks and they'll say something,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
they just disappear again.
So,
But-
as a Bible-believing Christian, that's my question for you. Do you believe as an American we should be following God as our leader?
Yeah, I do believe that, to be honest. I mean, this country is built around God, or not around God. I said that wrong.
Mm-hmm.
God built this country around his laws. That's what started this country.
Mm-hmm.
It was the basis of our founding fathers.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was the basis of the founding fathers, and God was the base of this country. And I truly believe that's what made this country so great.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
For years and generations,
Yeah.
this country was the great. I mean, it still is, but it even was more powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
it just, I see it as we stray away from God, this country's just collapsing on itself.
And you see that in history too, when countries that believe in God start straying away.
Mhm.
You see the craziest things happen. So it's
And
like,
it's right in front. It's right in front of you.
mm-hmm.
I tell people, I was like,
It happens over and over again throughout
over and
history.
over and over
Nope.
and over.
people allow history to repeat itself.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that, and we're a few years apart, but I truly believe that I may have been in the very last generation that really read out of the history book. I truly believe that.
Yeah, but was it the correct history book?
I thought so.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at, man. Like I'm stuck in a point now where I anything that doesn't come out of this book, I second, triple, quadruple guess it. And
Those
guys,
who can't see, he's pointing to his Bible.
for those of you that didn't see me sneak out, I don't know how Joe Rogan does it for 3 hours at a shot, man. Holy crap!
I think he's got a bottle.
Catheter or something.
Something.
So I'm glad you brought this up because I keep pulling at threads. I get stuck inside my own head, spend a lot of time by myself. But I keep hearing, and I 100% agree with you that a return to what this country was founded on is the only way back. And I can't even say only way back because truthfully it's our only way forward because none of us have lived under what this country was originally supposed to be. One of the things I'm pulling at, and like you said, history repeats itself. Nobody wants to pay attention. Has anybody ever read into what 1920, 1930s Berlin was like after World War I, before Hitler came to power?
I don't think I did.
Oh, okay. There's an amazing video. If you guys want to check it out, get Telegram, subscribe to the Absolute Octane channel, and scroll through there. You'll find it. Long story short, what happened in Germany at that time, in Berlin, it was one of the most sinful cities on the planet. Think Sodom and Gomorrah. Any deviance you wanted to find there, you could find. Any deviance. So what happened was the conservative Germans that were living there at the time, because remember, this is right after World War I, took a terrible toll on Germany and its citizens and things like that over in Europe. We all know how bad, well, we read about how bad it was. So there's this power vacuum there where there's nothing but debauchery and decadence that's festering. So along comes Adolf Hitler, and I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm not saying I support him. I do not. I don't believe you should have to gas anybody. I'd like to think we are all evolved enough as a species that we should be able to sit down and talk. Okay? Along came Hitler, and the conservative the conservative German citizens that were living in the country at the time were like, hey, we're tired of this debauchery, we're tired of the pornography, we're tired of the sex clubs and the prostitution and the pedophilia and the cross-dressing. So Hitler glommed onto that message and managed to rally his base. That's when you started seeing the rise of the brown shirts, and eventually Hitler came to power through that. Do you think it's plausible that the same thing could happen here in America? And I asked that question based on the argument that the same circumstances that created that power vacuum in Germany at the time that led to the rise of Hitler are occurring here in the United States now. If we can agree on that, do you believe that the Christian American citizen there's going to be an attempt made to dupe us into becoming the quote unquote next brown shirts and things of that? I'm putting this question out there because I can very, very easily see it going that way. And this is one of the things why we're sitting down, because I don't want to see it go that way. I don't want to see kinetic warfare. If you are a true warrior, you pray for peace. I have not been exposed to that. My kids have not been exposed to that. I do not want to see that here on American soil. Do you think this is a plausible or a feasible scenario that could play out in the next 4 to 5 years, where we start seeing this idolatry take effect among the Christian conservative base in this country?
Yes, I think it already has at the slightest level. I think where we are as a country on the stage of the world, I think us being, quote unquote, the policeman of the world, which the rest of the world hates that. I think the level we are as far as policy goes, connecting all the countries together, I think the future is a one world government. I think the future holds a complete change in infrastructure of how this how the human race actually does things together. and I just see that basically on how the American economy is going right now. It's scary. I mean, every couple months we have to fund the government. We're trillions of dollars.
We have to fund two governments, us and Ukraine.
Exactly, and so
True. Yeah.
just where everything's going,
Or wherever their next money pot is.
Yeah.
exactly. The economy is pointing towards a extreme shift in how humans operate daily, and that targets specific groups. Christianity is probably one of the biggest groups. Nowadays, people really don't believe in God, but people have to latch onto something, and so they latch onto different names like Christianity, Catholicism, whatever. The second we start categorizing groups like Hitler did, that's when we're really going to see how everybody falls.
I think
into
we're
place.
already there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're already there
Yeah.
as a country of categorizing groups and pitting the people against each other,
Mm-hmm.
just for the fact that now we can see, they want neighbors turning in neighbors for owning a gun or
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean,
Well,
Yeah.
I think
neighbors turning in neighbors during COVID lockdowns in other countries. You know,
yeah.
oh
New
my
Ze-
God, they walked outside their door. They're going to kill us all because
Well-
somebody has COVID or whatever. You know, I think we're starting to trend that way, and I don't think it's for like the power vacuum of real Americans that believe in this country and that wanted to get back to the greatest country on the planet again. I think it's actually the other way around. I think it's actually the brown shirts are going to be the people that they've brainwashed into believing that those of us that care about this country are wrong. Those of us who own guns are wrong. Those of us who don't believe we should be paying for somebody to sit at home all day long doing nothing and making more money off of unemployment and other services than I make in a year. That's a problem for me.
And I think
Okay.
the
And
media
I think
plays a
that's
huge
where it's
part
going to.
Yeah,
in this
I agree.
divide.
Yeah, the
I-
media
I-
is a huge.
And the first time I saw it, and maybe this has happened way prior, but the first time it really stuck out to me where it was so obvious was during the George Floyd stuff. I was like, these people are really trying to divide us by our race.
Yeah.
And we're going backwards in history to back when it was segregation, because now I'm seeing stuff like white or black only dorms.
yeah,
That makes zero sense to me because so many people fought for equality rights in the 60s
absolutely.
that these college softies wouldn't have made it through because of the amount of heart and dedication that those people put in to have the equality. So why are we now we're being distracted back?
Yeah,
Back
colleges are
to
forcing the
Yeah.
segregation again.
So-
No whites allowed in this dorm.
And it's-
no blacks allowed in this
yeah,
dorm.
and it's completely contradicting their
Yeah.
argument now.
Yeah.
100%. And then
We want
um,
equal rights, but we want to be separated
yes,
from white
and then
people
they
and
were
black
trying
people.
to guilt the churches during COVID because churches stayed open and they're frowning upon the churches and they're saying that praying is somehow a microaggression of some sort.
Well,
Now I'm like that. Now that's not like a main thing, but
Yeah.
it's a hint of just how they want to divide religion and man or religion and country, however you want to say that.
yeah, but I mean, do you think that everything is just? I personally, I don't think. I don't think at the end of the day, I like to have hope in humanity. I don't think the average person wants to go out and do harm or do evil to somebody else. I do believe Silas is correct. Evil does exist in this world, and if you don't acknowledge it, it's like the elephant in the room. The going back to I do see where you're coming from with the brown shirt thing. I do understand that, but again, what solutions can we come up with to avoid this stuff? That's everybody's got a problem.
I think people just need to grow up and sit down and talk.
Okay, so
And you don't have to
People
sit
need to
there
be on
and
the same
you don't
page.
have to sit there and agree with that, or change your views and change what you believe. I think we all just need to be able to sit down with an opposing view and just meet in the middle somehow and move on. That's what I truly think, because I see too much, especially in my age group. It's you're wrong for believing this or you're wrong for believing that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not, well, what do you believe? And sitting there and hearing someone out for why they believe that instead of just saying you're wrong.
Or if they
No.
do actually say something, they're just regurgitating whatever's been put in front of them on the news.
Right.
They don't have an argument behind it. They don't have a reasoning as to why they believe it. It's just what they've seen on social media or in the news. They
Oh.
don't. They can't argue it. They can't argue it, and if they can't argue it, you're just a racist bigot.
Yeah, it's the default button.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
and
it's
you
like
need to be
arguing
canceled.
why you support the police.
Yeah.
Well,
They're looking in the small circle. We're looking at the
Mhm.
situation as a whole. They're looking
Yeah.
at that one bad cop,
Yeah.
the one bad apple. But really, there's a ton of good apples. But
Yeah.
they listen, like you
All
said,
they
the,
care about
the
is
media.
bad apple.
They listen to the media and they watch the news, and all the news will talk about is that bad apple.
Mhm.
But there's so many good apples doing good apple things out there, and it's swept under the rug, and they will make you hate those good apples.
Oh, amen to that one. They do a very good job. You got to respect what they've done to this country. You have to respect it. It was executed perfectly, and we all, not left, not right, not Christian, not Muslim, not gay, not straight, not black, not what, every single one of us fell for it. Hook,
Mhm.
line, and sinker.
We all chose our side.
Yeah. Well,
We need something that will be
Kinda.
unifying for everybody in this country. You know,
Right.
it's like, as much as I hate to say this, man, we need another 9/12.
yeah, oh,
You know
I-
what I mean?
Oh, we
Yeah.
need something.
When,
Yeah.
when you know, except for the 9/12 that brought in the
yeah, just
Muslim
without all the
hatred and
death
stuff like
and,
that.
Yes.
yeah.
Well, but the Muslim hatred even here in the United
Right,
States.
right, right.
I mean, there's plenty of great people no matter where you go, but we need that unifying across the globe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We need that unifying across the globe, not just in this country. If
Right.
we all want to be better people, the trillions that we're spending in the Ukraine right now for people to get rich, we could solve world hunger.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
We could you could have everybody in an electric car and an electric grid that could support it and get rid of using gas and
No, I want my
stuff like-
Milwaukee 8. I'm keeping my bike, dude. I've never heard
I'm
an
not-
electric
I'm not saying-
motorcycle sound cool.
No,
I'm not
I
saying you
highly
have to
doubt
get
they
rid of it,
do.
but what I'm saying is, like, if that's something you want to work towards as, you know, to get off of fossil fuel dependence,
Yeah.
you know, you could work towards that. You could get on solar. You could get on wind energy by spending the right amount of money and not making somebody rich, but doing it for the good of the people of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and not to line somebody's pockets, but to do it for the good of the people of the planet.
Yeah, but at some point you like nobody this is deviating a little bit away from the topic. I wanted to address the return point of how we get back. But if you develop like a water-based combustion engine,
Yeah,
okay,
somebody's gonna kill me.
well, yes, I know, and we've seen it happen twice in our history. Yeah, and you guys know Porsche is releasing a water-powered 911.
I didn't know that, but I did see a video about a guy that supposedly invented it. I saw two different ones, but I saw about one guy
Yep.
who
There,
invented it.
there was a gentleman back in the 80s down in Texas, and you know the security guard that was just murdered in
That's the
the
guy.
top shooting.
Yep, it
Yes,
was him.
he
Okay.
developed one as well. But
Crazy.
but
That's insane.
long story short, though,
Get Epstein up in this place.
yeah,
For
wi-
inventing a water engine.
yeah, without a doubt. But okay, capitalism is the best way to lift people out of poverty. All right, so Brian takes his time, money, talent, experience, knowledge, and makes this water powered car. Okay, who determines how to make it affordable for the people?
That's the problem. Is figuring out who determines that. Like I would want to determine that.
Me
you know,
too.
because then maybe if I can determine it, maybe I will be that person that says I've determined this affordability.
They did that with penicillin.
Yeah.
It was originally patented for $1 a dose, and now
Yeah.
look at it.
You know, like
Ivermectin.
epinephrine shots.
Yeah.
EpiPens.
But what I'm saying is, say you sit down and you're like, okay, this widget or whatever I invented is worth $300. Okay, Well, now Silas is like, no, it's I can only afford 200. It's only worth 200. So who's right in that situation? You who invented the tech, or him who wants it because it's affordable for him?
It's a very hard choice.
How I look at it, and I'm not a businessman by any means, but
Yeah.
I would think if you're talking to a fair developer, the developer would be right, in my opinion, because if I built something and put $1,000 into building something, and I were to sell it, if I was a developer of some type of software, and I say it's $500 for that person to buy it, and it costs me $500 to build, I'm not making any money off that. You still need money to run your operation.
Yeah. Well, software is a little bit different. Software you can just open source
that
it
was
and
just-
make it. Yeah, but I hear
Just
what you're
a
saying.
random.
No, I hear what you're
China's
saying.
going to make it for $1.50 and
Yeah.
like literally
If I build
$1.50
wood,
and
if
sell
I
it for
build
20.
wood tables and I spend $100 in material, it's probably $800 now
Yeah,
for lumber.
true.
But if I build a wood table and I spend $100 for materials, and Silas comes out to me and says, "I can only give you 75. This is what the people could afford." Now you're pretty much at a negative balance.
Yeah, you're going to go out of business.
So that's why I would say the developer has a better say if it's a fair-minded developer. Now, if you're like, I built this for $100, give me $500.
Yeah.
Now, I would say it's fair to double what you make.
So if you build a table for $100, 200 is good for you.
Yeah,
That's
guess what?
100
Now you
100
could build another table.
100% markup. That's good for you.
So capitalism's kind of funny with that because it's the best thing in the world, but at the same time, the examples you guys are showing, those are the worst
Mhm.
examples. So you're a carpenter, you're the supplier, and you're the GC. We're talking construction.
Yeah.
There's 3 different funnels of money going through here. He's managing you. What did I say you were again?
I'm the supplier.
Supplier.
You're the supplier. You're supplying him, and so this is capitalism. He is getting paid by the customer to
Yeah.
manage you, and you're getting paid by him, who's getting paid by the customer, and then you're paying him his
Yeah.
marked up prices
Mhm.
for all his supplies. That's how capitalism works.
Right.
And so that is actually where the price point is made. Is after all this communication of, actually, this is where we just charge the customer, even though you just marked it up 300%. I need you to go down because 6 months ago I was able to buy this at a different
Yeah.
supplier at this price.
Mhm.
That's kind of how negotiating goes. That's how capitalism is good and how the economy grows.
But again, if in a supplier situation, in a situation you're describing, you can do that. You have multiple GCs, multiple suppliers, multiple contractors. Brian built a water-powered engine.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one that builds it.
Right.
Who determines how much it's worth?
So with that, that's the buyer. The buyer.
Yeah.
That's the cool part about being a capitalist. The second you make that idea, go for it because guess what? People are going to pay for it.
The buyer's
Yeah.
going to determine how much they will pay for.
And you are not wrong as the buyer. The person that says, well, these guys, they can't afford it. Welcome to capitalism. Welcome to the world. That's the what people need to realize is the world isn't fair. Capitalism isn't fair.
Yeah.
Capitalism is the opposite of fair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But there's an opportunity for you to understand that and do it for yourself.
Yes.
That's what's so awesome
Yeah.
about capitalism.
Can we just get to the point where we're in the world, and I only say this because, I'm not a fan of Star Wars. Can we get to the Star Trek universe and just be like them? Not have to worry about money. Not, you got food, you got clothing, you got jobs to do, and everybody on the planet's working towards a better planet now. They're all going and attacking other planets. That's fine.
So the
Or,
question is,
being the police of the other
Well,
planets. But,
yeah.
I would like to see our society get to that. Maybe well past my, lifetime. But, I think it's possible.
I mean,
I
who
think we
knows?
can
We
get
started a space force.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we can get to a point where technology can make things better for us, and can make society not have the wants of, I have no food because I'm poor. We don't have that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think we could end that world hunger. We could end the fighting over the stupid stuff.
Well, we could end the fighting over the stupid stuff if we just respected each other. If South Africa's got $3 billion in diamonds and we're in the market for diamonds, why not just buy them? You damn sure know that if we had $3 billion in diamonds sitting under our soil, ain't nobody coming over here starting no drama. The government wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
Why don't we just buy it instead of stealing it or taking it or kicking up a war?
Because
Because
doing that
we're
doesn't make
stupid.
money for the
Because
people.
we're
There's a
stupid.
good example.
People want to make money, and
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I was just watching this podcast, Joe Rogan podcast, and the guy is shedding light on what's going on in the Congo.
Yeah.
And that junk is crazy.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's some
I
human.
hate to interrupt. What's going on in the Congo?
So the Congo, they're digging for cobalt.
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 Oh, is this the one where he was talking about the mine, where it was supposed to be, like the suppliers are like, oh, there's it's all automated. There's no
Yes.
people, and there's 15.
But there's children down there
Yeah,
with
okay.
women on their or kids on women's backs. There's no schooling. There's nothing. There's bring your kids to work, get dirty. There's a little bit of like PPE, but what this guy is trying to show is the amount of care, from the corporate world to really know what's going on with their supply chain.
Mhm.
And it's just great that we got reporters that do go and figure this stuff out, because if we didn't, we're living in the most advanced time in human history, and we don't even know there's kids in the Congo digging for cobalt. Which the real point I'm trying to get at here is we're pushing so hard for a greener environment. We're having these battery cars drive around, and we're saying this is the new way for everybody to have energy. But screw the kid in the Congo who's digging for
Yeah.
it.
But
You
it's
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It makes me
environment,
think
that's the
back
thing.
to when Nike was exposed about the sweatshops in China.
Yeah.
If you guys
Yeah,
remember that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was all young kids and women working in this horrible factory condition. But hey, buy my 200 pair of shoes.
Yeah.
So how is it that the four of us sitting in this room, and without meaning to insult anyone, possessing average intelligence, slightly above average,
You're giving me too
depending
much credit.
slightly above average,
Slightly
depending
above,
on
slightly below.
depending on what topic we're
I don't
talking
even got a
about.
graph for it.
Yeah. How come is it that we can see this and we can acknowledge it, but so many people don't?
I think they see it. They just don't.
I just think I think they truly choose not to. And I don't know why.
Like Holocaust denier, or it's
Yeah.
harder for someone to admit they've been lied to.
I think it's like they just,
both.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
Oh,
The evidence is in plain. I mean, you know what comes to my mind? The Armenian genocide.
okay. I
It
don't.
happened, right? We never learned about this.
Yeah, and please educate.
The Armenian genocide, I'll make it quick. 1915, right before World War One, the Turkish started a genocide against the Armenians. Armenia is a little third world country right next to Turkey, modern day, right?
Okay.
Back then, Armenia was a little bigger, a little wealthier, a lot more power, and the Turks were still a lot bigger, and they started a genocide against the Western Armenians.
A genocide based on what? Just
lot- mostly-
ethnicity, religion.
A lot of them, they wanted Armenians out of Turkey because of religion. Armenia, it was an Orthodox Christian nation.
Okay.
Some say it was the very first self-proclaimed Christian nation in the world.
Okay.
And the Turkish didn't like that. And so they started flushing the Armenians out of Turkey, and they just kept going and going into Armenia, and they slaughtered 1.5 million men, women, and children. And I never learned anything about this in school. And this was the first genocide of the 20th century. This was before the Jewish Holocaust.
Wow.
It's actually the genocide that motivated Hitler to commit his crimes and what he did to the Jewish people.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason I brought this up is, till this day, the Turkish deny it, that they ever did it, when they found all the evidence they needed of mass burial sites in the hot spots of where the genocide was.
So the Turkish government is just wasn't us.
Yep. And it's crazy because they use that as a tool. Turkey is a pretty powerful nation for its region. and they use that as a tool to say you're either with or against us because they haven't been tried for war crimes, any type of crimes against humanity. So the reason I say that is because before I lose my train of thought, because it's starting to.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you've been punched in the head a lot. I'll testify to that.
Yeah, unfortunately I can too. You're not lying. But yeah, they're in denial, and people believe that even though there's pictures of it.
That it's never
I
happened.
mean, there's pictures. Nope, we didn't do it. And guess what? We're not going to help you with resources and supplies in our country if you don't take our side with this. For example, the Turkish, I believe, was up in the air about becoming an ally of the U.S. when we were in the Middle East. And it was up in the air about Donald Trump. That was a big deal, whether he recognized the Armenian genocide or not. It's always coming up in conversation.
See, I don't hear anything about Armenia. I couldn't find it on a map if you
Yeah.
if you labeled it.
Now, was that based on? So you said Armenia was like the Christian background. Was that like Muslim Christian type?
That's what I
fighting
think it
between-
was. That's what I believe. So
Okay.
Yeah, I know Turkey's an Islam.
Turkey is a very traditional, strong Islamic country.
Okay.
Okay.
Very, very strong, passionate people about their religion.
Okay.
And I think they wanted to stir the pot. They also took a lot of land from Armenia. They say that I can't believe I forgot the name of the mountain, but the mountain that Noah's Ark was found was actually in Armenia, but now it belongs to Turkey.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And it's on the Armenian coat of arms, and now it's Turkish.
Really? I did not know that. Why don't you Google where they found Noah's Ark at?
I got it.
All right. Yeah, I know. Have you been following where they're actual digging that up, and the guy's got it geo-mapped and everything like that? Like, it is legit. They've found his ark.
Yeah,
I'm probably
I
going to
never
butcher the
looked deep
pronouncing
into
of
it,
this.
but I heard about it and I saw the pictures, and I think that's wild.
Yeah,
Mount
absolutely.
Ararat?
Yes, Mount
Yes,
Ararat.
Mount
I'm
Ararat.
butchering the pronunciation.
Yep, there's
but
it's,
Yeah.
two mountains. One's bigger, one's smaller. It was found on the bigger one.
yeah.
And it's a shame because you have a country that was so proud of being the first self-proclaimed Christian nation, and men, women, and children were exiled and slaughtered and brutally raped and murdered. And somehow it's just, people just say no.
Yeah, well, that's
Happening to Christians all over the world right now still.
yeah.
Modern day
Yeah.
genocides that you don't
In
hear
China
about it.
and
Yeah, you don't hear Armenia. That's
Africa,
Armenia.
I mean, same thing.
Sudan.
Christians, Sudan, yeah.
Sudan is huge with that right now. Mostly, is it North and South Sudan? Sorry.
Yeah, I
always
think so.
forgot.
Yeah,
I think the South Sudanese are Christians and the North is Muslim, and that's why they're divided from the start. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the North has been fighting in the southern part, and because it's all mainly Christian, and they're just being killed.
That's insane.
Doors kicked in, gunned down. And
That's insane. I don't. Do you think it's going to get that bad here?
I think it will be a while, but I truly believe it's going to happen. I believe that Christians will be persecuted all around the world, and I think it will start under the one world government. I believe that will be a thing eventually too.
Yeah,
And I think, I know we all have the same beliefs, so I'll throw it out there. I believe in the Antichrist, and I think he's walking this world right now.
Oh, brother, I'm.
And-
Amen.
Yeah, and I truly believe once this one world government takes place, they're gonna make it look all cute, like a field of flowers. But someday
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna say someone's gonna step up. We'll know who that will be, and he's gonna say I'm God. You're gonna worship me, because we already see that in countries now. These communist countries, North Korea,
Yeah, North Korea.
and
worried
they
about-
got this dude's face up in their homes, like they have to pray. They have to worship him.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because, like again, I'm just because I'm a Bible believing Christian doesn't mean that everybody else in the world is, and I'm still learning, as we all should be every day, and walking with Christ. But I'm paying a lot of attention to what's going on over in Israel and stuff like that. By no means am I an expert, but there's certain prophecies that are being fulfilled over there and things like that. And if I was confident enough in my computer skills right now, I could pull up a video of a person that there's a young man over there that they're actually the Jewish leaders are professing that he has a lot of qualities of the coming Messiah, up to that he has memorized the Torah and the what's the other book they use, Silas? The Torah and but they've claimed he's performed miracles. They have 3 of the 5 unblemished red heifers needed to sacrifice for the building of the new temple. They back around Thanksgiving, they went to the top of Mount Sinai where Moses was given the 10 Commandments, and they declared the new humanitarian 10 Commandments for the world. The Pope and Muslim imams are meeting and talking about developing a one-world religion called Chrislam. I've been reading and things like that, and at the time, the world's going to get bad enough, and the Antichrist is going to stop them up and be like, "Hey, man, I can figure it out." Well, at that time, all the nations of the earth are supposed to hand their power over to the Antichrist. Did you know that the United Nations owns Manhattan? The United Nations,
I've heard that. Now
the
that you say
United
it.
Nations owns, I believe, 15 miles back from the U.S.-Mexican border. The United Nations owns property here in America. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes. The United Nations, and so even if you don't believe, if all these things are taking place, 1, it affirms our belief, and 2, it just proves that our book is real. It proves that our God is real. It proves that Scripture is real.
There's so much in there that if you truly let your mind just soak in what it's telling you,
Mm-hmm.
and then unfortunately let what the nastiness that we see in this world is showing us, it's hand in hand with the Bible, because the Bible has some stuff that's scary too.
Yeah.
Especially in Revelations, but it's all right under our nose. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I've read my Bible every day. I'm trying to improve on that personally. But when you know it and you see it, the first thing I think of when I see a lot of these things is the Bible.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. It makes me happy because I know that I personally feel like my mind is in the right mindset. I should be nervous, but I shouldn't be. I'm not scared of what's going to happen because I'm aware that the Bible holds a lot of ugliness.
Yeah,
It does.
With all due respect, and Silas, please correct me if I'm wrong, but God ain't interested in our mind; He's interested in our hearts.
No, exactly.
And that's
Yes.
what we've got to make sure. Now, here's another question for you. We believe it. We see it. It's happening. I mean, it's irrefutable. I mean, as much as the secular world has done their best to disclaim the Bible, and science backs it, or science, and we evolve from amoebas, and that's their take on everything. Science is proving the Bible true over and over and over and over again, from the discovery of Noah's Ark to Graham Hancock, Ancient Apocalypse. There's a lot of things that are coming true. Now, when we're dealing with other people and things like that, you're a Bible believing Christian, you believe in 2 laws. You believe in God's law, you believe in man's law. Okay? That being said, though, we can't hold non-believers accountable the way we should be holding each other accountable. So until we can do that, how do you guys feel is the most beneficial way to come through? Because where I'm sitting, the only way out of this is through the book. I don't care what aisle you stand on.
Yeah.
You put 10 people in a room, 10 out of 10 people are going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If we want to change the world, which is what we are supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
how are we supposed to do that without holding unbelievers to our standards? I'm comfortable calling out Silas. I'm comfortable calling out you. Brian's not born again. I can't hold him to the same standards, and I'm sorry for picking on you. I can't hold him to the same standards that I hold myself to.
Right.
So how do we work past that chasm?
I'll be honest. I think we have to be blunt and straightforward with the gospel and let them get to know about the gospel and everything about Christ that we know. I truly believe that, and I've talked to a lot of non-believers. I actually just talked to some people at work about it last week. And like I said, I'm not a Bible guru where I know everything in the Bible. I don't. But from what I did tell them, from what I believed, from Jesus' birth with the Virgin Mary to Jesus' death, his resurrection, I covered his second coming. I think from there, you introduce them to Jesus and his story, because then you go from there to repentance. And I feel like it's tough to explain. It's easier when I think it through, of course.
Yeah.
But I think once you get them to know who Jesus is and what he's done, and then you add a little bit of your own testimony in there of like, well, how do you know it's real? Because that's what they'll ask you.
Yeah.
How do you know it's real? But if you get through to them, you'll be like, well, this is what I've experienced in my heart and how it's changed my thoughts and outlook on life, and it turned into a lifestyle. Now I think if they are willing to put their minds and their hearts to getting to know Jesus, rather just saying, yeah, I'll do that. I'll go to church on Sunday. Or, yeah, I'll do that. I'll read a chapter in the Bible for one night and never touch it again. But I feel like as a Christian, our job is to share the gospel of Christ. So I'll be honest, it's hard for me. It's not hard for me to share the gospel of Christ, but it's hard for me to hold people accountable for what they do that is wrong in God's law, because it's easy to sit there and say, why would you steal a candy bar? That's against the law. I mean, stealing's against God's law too, but we're talking from a societal standpoint of it's against the law.
Yeah.
But are they stealing it because they're starving, or are they stealing it because I don't feel like
They're
paying
stealing it because they can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's where you come with the different angle of it.
Right.
You know,
And I'm glad
For
you
the
asked that,
accountability.
because it's got me thinking now.
Yeah.
How do I hold other people accountable for their sin? Not
Yeah.
accountable for the wrongdoings in society's eyes, but in God's eyes, because
Yeah.
there's a difference.
Yeah. Again, like I
I'm
can
glad
sit.
would God punish someone for stealing that candy bar, that loaf of bread, because they're starving and they
Yeah.
need that food?
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
even. Yeah.
Or would he punish them because they stole it because, well, they can do whatever the heck they want?
That's a
Yeah.
valid
You know,
question. I mean,
Yeah.
I would.
That's
I
one
mean,
of
if
those
I'm
things-
if
that's
I'm
a
a,
question that I would have.
if I'm going to sit there and starve to death, I'm stealing a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you know what? I don't. Again, I'm no Bible guru either, but I mean, Jesus was accosted, or Jesus was questioned about this similar situation, and he brought up the fact that even that David went to temple and took the bread for the priests and fed himself and his men at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in a situation like that. I believe the good Lord would be providing and things like that. A lot of it boils down to intent, and you've heard me say it before, and if you haven't, you're going to hear me say it again. At the heart of every matter is a matter of the heart, and that's ultimately what it's going to come down to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jim Jones. I mean, he used the Bible to murder people.
So to kind of chime in on the Bible, just for a little personal background, was my source of education. Without the Bible, just based off of how I grew up, I wouldn't have had the mindset to really understand the world around me. Just based off of my parents and their lifestyles at the time, I was, based off of what everybody else was saying, destined to be a drug addict, destined to be a high school dropout, destined to all these things to kind of push me down.
Mm-hmm.
In the 8th grade, when I finally started reading the Bible, it wasn't just sitting there and reading it for what it is. There was one more step. And Christians, they'll say, believe in Jesus and what he did, and then accept the Holy Spirit, be baptized, because Jesus was baptized, and start your discipleship. but there is a fundamental element within us that I truly believe in, that I've self-observated while I was going through this self-revival. There is something inside you as a person that it connects you to the spiritual realm. So as we read the Bible, you can either read it through a spiritual lens or you can read it through a societal lens. And so that societal lens is, okay, Jesus died on the cross for me and all my sins are forgiven. And so now I can just sin and then be forgiven. But in the disciple Paul says, don't continue in your sin. So there's that spiritual interaction where you don't have to continue in your sin. You can actually have that supernatural spiritual interaction like the disciples did, where they learned how to be connected with God, and they did crazy miracles because of it. And when we read the Bible, there's a big elephant in the room. There's a Bible now. Where was the Bible before? It was being written. So at that time that it was being written, how were there miracles happening? And so that's where we see God and people. King David, God was with him. King David was a man after God's own heart. So you got to ask yourself, in a time where they didn't have the scriptures, how did King David chase after God's own heart? And so there's this element that I really want to point out to the listeners and to everybody. Find that element within you to connect yourself to the spiritual the spiritual side of you. The second you do that, you'll realize that, holy crap, there's good and evil. You kind of knew that before you even realized it, but as you dig deep into that, you can go through every religion, but only Christianity and only what Christ did for us. You'll really realize that there is a good side, there's a bad side, and Jesus himself said, "I need to leave this planet so that something greater can come," and that's the Holy Spirit. I think Christians, the church in America, needs to be way, way, way more
Spiritually active.
serious in their spiritual walk, because we're just getting punished, man.
It's being young and having all these things around you. It's hard
I know,
because
I'm going through it
when
right
I
now.
was when I was in public school, they didn't talk about God. And you're in public school for 12 years, sometimes longer if you go to college, and you're surrounded by your friends who you start hanging out with outside of school. It's really easy to get sidetracked from God's word. And I agree with a lot of what Silas said, because with the things around us, especially now where God's not a priority, it's tough to really make – I'm not going to say it's hard to make him a priority. It's just hard to stay spiritually focused on your spiritual walk, because there is a difference, like he said, that spiritual side of you.
Oh, okay. So what's the enemy throwing at you to trip you up?
Anything.
Anything and everything.
Literally anything. I mean, you look at just the priorities of the country, drugs are more commonly used, and there's no enforcement on drugs, barely. They're making areas for people to use drugs freely instead of finding these people help. Pornography is another big thing. You see it in movies right in front of you. I mean, it's a big thing, and it's at your fingertips.
Oh, yeah.
It's all over the place.
It's everywhere.
All over
It's
the
insane. They write books now that are porn-based books.
place. Teaching children in school.
Yeah.
And then now look what they're doing to kids in school at very young ages. I mean, it's just, to me, this world is going backwards, and it's making a young person, it's tough as a young person. I can't imagine being like a 16, 17-year-old nowadays with the things that you're being taught at a younger age.
Okay. So when you were 16, 17 years old, and I'll put this out for both of you, answer it as honest as you want. Who had more influence over you? Was it your parents, or was it your friends? Was it the phone? I mean, I'm not naive. I kept the phone away from my kids and social media away from my kids till they were 14, 15. I was very blessed with two beautiful and well-mannered, well-behaved kids. But they boneheaded it up at times. And I'd be naive to sit here and think that the world didn't have an influence on my kids. So being as young as you guys are, who had the influence on you at that age? what were you seeing, and how did you manage to land on 2 feet? I know at my age, I didn't manage to pull my head out of my ass till I was almost 30 years old from things that was going on when I was 13, 14, 15.
I would say my parents are like the base of my influence, of what I was influenced by. I had a lot of guidance from them, but I also, in a good way, was afraid of them. I was afraid to get in big trouble in school and have to go explain. And although I'm not saying I was perfect, because I got in trouble a lot, trust me. But every decision I made, I was like, am I going to regret going home with this decision and the result of this decision? And it kept me out of a lot of trouble. And I might not have had the best childhood, or not the most exciting teenage years of being able to go to parties on a Friday night all the time, because I didn't.
I remember you when we first met, man. Every time I turned around, I was running into him working somewhere. I think he was working like 6 jobs at one point in time, man. He was working.
Yep.
Hustling out
My
there.
parents,
you ain't kidding, man.
my parents didn't play games with me. They were great, loving parents. They did a great job being parents. They supplied us with what we needed to be successful, which was love, a roof over our heads. But they said, you're going to work for what you want. And that's why when you saw me all the time, I was working. I started working when I was
That's
15.
what I thank my parents for.
Yeah, same. And
thing.
now that I'm older, I'm 27, and I already saw it years ago. Now that I'm older, I say to myself, and I actually just told my mom this not too long ago, is now I know why you were so tough on me. Because I told her I was so scared to make stupid decisions, but now that I look at it, those decisions may have rerouted me in my future goals. All my friends in high school especially started doing drugs, drinking, and partying, and I was first off too scared to get caught by my mom and dad. And I also knew that it wasn't what I wanted as an end goal. It wouldn't be beneficial. So I told myself, why would I start? But trust me, it was tempting to want to try to sneak one past my parents to go get hammered one night with my friends.
You think about that. I mean, that's what sin is. Sin is, period. We're trying to sneak one past our Father. You know, that's what it is. And I believe if we had that same reverence for God that we have for our mortal parents, that fear, that genuine fear that if I get thrown out of school, I'm going home, Dad's gonna thump me one. I genuinely believe that all of us would be running on a much straighter path. Like, you know, I mean, you've all heard, if the Lord strike me down with a thunderbolt, what if he lit your ass up 1 or 2 times? I guarantee you'd start paying a little bit better attention.
Yeah,
you know,
you're going to listen to him next time.
Yeah.
I feel like on the other side of that, because I'm actually the complete opposite. Growing up, I grew up in a troubled home. I was a troubled kid until I wasn't, until I started realizing my surroundings and realizing the things that I was doing was affecting people. I learned that at a young age because I saw my dad and his decisions and how they affected other people. I don't know how, you know, I managed to realize it and I managed to make that change, but I did. And I gave my life to Christ, and I really committed to my studies in high school, got a 4.0. I went from being in 5th grade reading at 1st grade level to being in 8th grade reading probably senior level. And every teacher that I ever had, I've had a couple of them say I was stupid. A couple of them said that I need extra help. I want extra help. But when I committed to it, I physically felt myself change, and almost forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all.
It'll come back.
Yeah, I get it, man.
Can you react?
Who are you? Who kept you in check?
Yes.
Was it the fear of the Lord or the fear of your parents?
I got a little bit too into myself there. That's how I forgot. So, right there, that example is exactly how I kind of got myself out of it. I would get on this road, then I lose track, and I feel like a lot of people do. But anyways, it was God by Himself that really brought me to a stage of understanding. But as time goes on, you get burnt out. And this is really where I'm trying to get at. So that every day waking up and saying, I'm going to do everything that I can to learn everything that I need to know to be the best person that I could be, not just for my family or for myself, but for God. And that was my motivation for a long time. And I told myself I'd never get burnt out. But for listeners that, are Christian, that to the T try to follow every single rule, try to be as pure as possible, it wears on a human being, especially when they don't understand the spiritual side. Because the second you try to be as pure as possible, to try to be as perfect as possible, Satan just beats you up, beats you up. He'll send every demon he can find, he'll send at you.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll get to a point of, and there's a story in the Bible that,
You just give up.
Yeah, you almost give up. There's a story in the Bible, I forget the character's name, but he was rich at one point, and he was praising God for all the things that he was being gifted. And then Satan was like, this is paraphrasing, well, since he is super committed to you, throw these things in his way to see, if he continues to stay committed to him.
Right.
So I think Satan, or maybe it was God, I'm pretty sure it was God that sent down a sickness on him.
Yeah.
And he went blind. I can't remember if his family died, but I'm pretty sure his family died. Pretty much everything that could have happened that was bad happened to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so Satan was really going after his commitment to God. And so that's kind of where I'm at, where I felt as if I was giving everything to God, but bad things just kept happening. Things just keep wearing on you, and you lose your way. And that's where I was at, and I'm at today. Is trying to figure out how to fight my battles when God doesn't seem there.
I always tell myself as a Christian, and I'm far from perfect, but when I truly try to just whip my ass into shape, because I go through these periods where I feel like I'm spiritually on fire for God, and I'm like, God, I'm with you. I'm here. You have my attention, and I'll go through the day without swearing once, and I'll listen to nothing but godly Christian music. And I'll make sure I watch the right movie, not even like something silly, not even like a horror movie that's evil with evil in it. I mean, that's the extent that I'll take it. And so when we're talking about when we feel that spiritual burning within us of just we're on fire for God, I personally believe that God throws us a curveball on purpose, especially new believers, because I think that God does this because he wants us to go back to him when we fall.
Amen.
I think
agree with you, brother.
God said, because everyone says, well, if there's a God, then why does this happen? Well, because he's waiting for you to come back. There's so many times I wanted to give up for whatever reason, and all I would feel is just God said, I'm sitting here waiting for you.
So based off of that, do you believe that God has a training ground for Christians, disciples? Do you think he has a training ground as far as spiritual warfare goes to equip Christians, disciples, with the right tools to combat sin so that they can continue to live a life in purity?
Yeah, I think there's somewhere there we have to, like you were saying a little earlier about research. I think there's spiritual research. It's all in the book. And then we have to research ourselves.
Right.
We have so many weaknesses and weak points in ourselves spiritually, and I think we need to really figure out and eliminate whatever that temptation is bringing us down. We have to eliminate it.
Do you think it's become easier for the temptations in modern society as opposed to like even just back in the early 1900s? The temptation has been there. Now we've got cell phones, kids, having sex at 12 and 13, and despite the beliefs. But not only are they not growing up in these households as to going to church every Sunday with your family or praying with your family or anything like that, but just normal, I only care about me type attitude.
Yeah, I think
do you think that has a lot to do with what's going on in society today?
I think so, 100%, and it's because
the faith
I'm seeing like young kids that are getting things that I have now. I remember like a few years ago, I was at Christmas and my 7-year-old cousin had an iPhone, a newer iPhone than me. And this is where I'm going to show how easy the evil in the world is accessible to kids. And it's not the biggest deal, but it's the example I'm going to tell you because it happened. As we're sitting on the couch and he types in boobs on his Google search bar. 7 years old.
Yeah, boom, pops right up.
And it pops right up. And
Fu-
now he's good. Now let's say he's actually looking through all this different stuff. So he's seeing things a 7-year-old shouldn't see. He's seeing vocabulary a 7-year-old shouldn't see. And then guess what? He's gonna look at more things from there.
Dude, I was talking to my son.
Internet,
He-
the downfall of man.
he-
Right now, I mean,
wha-
seriously.
Double-edged sword. I believe we weren't taught to utilize it the way it was intended. He witnessed somebody getting there, not a movie, a snuff film of a person having their head cut off, another human being having their head severed from their body while this individual was alive at 10 years old.
Yeah. I was
10
11.
Lively.
years
Yeah.
old.
I was 11 and I saw a video like that that was going all around the internet. And when I tell you that, it disturbed me for the longest time because I just felt like I shouldn't have seen that
Yeah.
because it came from someone saying, "Come watch this."
Mhm.
I didn't know what was going to happen until it was too late.
Yep. Yep.
And
That's the way it always happens.
Yep.
Things are good
And-
until they're not.
And as far as information, like the evil part of technology is crazy. But my buddy just sent me this link to this thing called, it's called chatopenai.com. And so pretty much what it is this
You can talk to AI.
And you can,
AI.
you
Yeah.
can, he will respond and you can have a conversation. I've been going back and forth with this thing. And it gives you, it's way better than Google. Because Google, you search your thing, you got to go through 100 different websites just to find something.
Yeah.
Go through 100 ads. You type in here, is God real? And I'm sure it'll come up with something crazy. So it just says there are many different beliefs about the existence of God or a higher power. Some people believe in one or more deities, yada yada. So you can sit there and you can say, go into detail. And it'll give you a whole different response. And you can sit there and have a philosophical conversation with an AI.
With a computer.
That's insane.
Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't call it philosophical because I mean you have to be a feeling being in order to genuinely appreciate
And they're
it.
coming out with AIs that
They're-
respond with
yeah.
quote unquote feelings.
Oh yeah, there's a whole app in production for this. There's an entire app where I can type in whatever voiceover I want, and I can have the AI voice over the intro, the commercial breaks, everything like that for this production. It is absolutely scary. With that being said, if we only look for the dark side of, if we only look for the dark in anything, we're going to find it. Okay, and that's in anything across the board. If you only want to see the bad in somebody, that's all you're going to see is the bad. If you only go on this, and if you only pick up this phone and look up boobs or people getting their heads cut off or stuff like that, that's all you're going to find. But that being said, though, I can also download an entire version of the Bible being read to
100%.
me by James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And I use it. That's where I read my Bible.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
me
you,
growing up-
you can watch surgery being
Yeah.
performed.
Yeah. I'm actually really glad growing up that I did not have like internet and stuff like that.
Same
Like,
here.
I had video games, you know, it was what it
Yeah.
started out with Atari and then, you know, Nintendo and stuff like that. But, you know, all the bad stuff that I saw growing up in a military family came from the actual news and hearing about it. Like, I remember my 13th birthday, Mogadishu, Somalia happened. You know, the whole Black Hawk Down thing. And all I can remember from that day is, well, my dad's going to war and he's probably going to die. You know, just thinking that as a 13-year-old, you know, back then,
Mm-hmm.
that was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, that messed with my head. You know,
Right.
coming to that realization that, holy crap, my dad does this for a living. He could die doing this. It never sunk in before that time. You know, and then you think about it and you're like, man, if I had the internet back then, I'd been losing my mind.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the first time it ever tripped me out, and I don't know if you guys were old enough to remember the first time we went to war over there back when Schwarzkopf ran the show, the first Desert Storm. Holy cow, dude! It was everywhere, nonstop,
Yeah.
24/7. They had Desert Storm trading cards.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll trade you my Patriot battery missile for your Schwarzkopf rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it was. And man, I sit back
And
now
now
and
you've got soldiers that GoPro everything they do. Over
Yeah,
there.
they
Yeah.
said this
Yeah.
whole Russia-Ukraine conflict was going to be the very first televised war, just because of how we could. All
Ye-
it takes is for a soldier over there to go
On a cell
Facebook
phone.
Live,
Yeah.
and then someone sharing it and viewing it, and yet now next thing you know, you're seeing things you might not want to see.
Yeah, but the thing
Yeah.
is I've been trying to find that stuff,
Right.
and I can't.
Yeah.
well,
I
you know,
can't find it anywhere. This is falling into the whole wars and rumors of wars.
There's
thing.
something about it that, and we don't have to get on this topic if you don't
Yeah.
want to, but I'll just throw it out there real quick. There's something about that it just
it doesn't sit right.
skeeves me out. There's something sketchy behind the scenes, which is a lot of things in this world that's behind the magic curtain there.
Mm-hmm.
This war is one of them.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And when this started,
Absolutely.
when this started, I said this is the start to something that the Bible is going to throw in our faces. That the first thing that believers think of is the Bible. I
absolutely.
truly think this is
Absolutely.
just a doorway, just a hint of what God's going to reveal to us. And I don't know what it is, whether it's good or bad, scary.
Well, it's going to be him. He's going to reveal
Well,
himself.
He's knocking at the door. He's standing there, right? He's coming.
Oh yeah.
See, and I
What
I
I'm
see it
saying
as
is,
a
though,
different
because the
viewpoint.
Bible gives so many events that lead up to that second coming of Christ, that in war being one of them,
Yeah.
and especially there will be a huge war in this world eventually. I think that this was just a hint of what we're gonna see.
Oh, World War III is coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of when.
Yeah. I don't.
And it's going to be bad, and it's going to be
Well, it's just
apocalyptic.
it's just like Putin who keeps bringing up nuclear missiles, and you know the one time that someone launches off a nuclear missile, I think will be the start of.
See, but I don't think anybody really wants that.
I don't
honestly-
think anybody
I
wants
think
it.
I think the bigger threat that you have from a nuclear attack wise would be the dirty bomb. It wouldn't be a country launching. It wouldn't be anything like that. It would be a player of some country somewhere.
some political religious
Some-
faction.
It doesn't even have to be that. It doesn't even have to be that. It could be somebody saying, "I need to make more money." These terrorists did it. These far right extremist Christians did it, or these far right, far left Islamic terrorists did it. That's how I think it will start. Legalizes human composting after death.
Yeah.
Wow, our governor. That's awesome.
It's awesome, guys. We can be composted now.
I mean, technically, aren't we composting
Okay.
anyways?
Okay. Here's another question
That
for
was a
you.
squirrel.
Here's another question for you, if you can answer it. Like you got like Brian. Brian's in the technology and communications field. He can go wherever he wants, whenever he wants to relocate. You got Silas and I, construction background. We can go wherever we want, whenever we want. Your background being as specialized as it is, what are your options? Are you in the I'm stuck here for the duration, or are you trying to cut and run? I mean, where is your head at? I mean, I'm a homeowner and I go back and forth every day between sell the pig and leave or stay here and fight.
Man, I have the ability to transfer. I would have to just go through the
Completely out of the governmental institution that you are currently under
that
now.
I'm currently
Okay.
under now, and I could transfer out of state to another one.
Okay.
You,
And I
you
would
see it
have
all
to
the
go
time
through
on
the
the
process.
billboards heading into the city
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Yeah,
Like
so
Atlanta's always coming up here to recruit.
I have seen that, but
All
not for
over
your
the
special,
place.
not for your specialization.
right, but all over the place. But they like that, so I could transfer, go through their whole process. This is what I was doing there. What could you do for me here? It's not horrible. I had a friend that did it, and he had to start from scratch, but he managed to get away with it.
So where's everybody going? Is it Florida or Georgia?
He went to Tennessee.
Okay.
I would
hear
love to go to
Tennessee's nice.
Tennessee. I would
I hear
love to.
Tennessee is
I went to
very nice.
Nashville once. Loved it.
Yeah.
But me personally, I think I'm stuck. And the reason I say that is I'm not going anywhere without anyone in my family. I have a sister, my two parents, who I thought my parents were going to leave to go south when they retire, which is coming up. But I think they're staying with some other family. And I would rather sit here and suffer with my family than go live it all good knowing my family's sitting up here and just struggling or whatever's being thrown.
Do you think you'd be able to convince them, like, let's say you go to Tennessee and say, hey, you're retired now, bring the family down here, I've already got this set up for you. Do you think that would be a plausibility, or do you think that they would be like, no, we really want to stay up here with family up here because this is what we know?
It comes down, I don't know. That's a valid question. If let's say it was just my parents here and I have a sister, and she has her career going too. And I personally, even if my parents moved out of state and my sister stayed, I would stay with my sister.
You stay with family.
Yeah, it's just me and her as the siblings. I think my parents, if let's say I said, this is how it's going, I think my parents would actually consider it.
Yeah. You don't think your sister would, though?
No. Which would suck because I couldn't leave her alone.
Yeah.
And she's younger than I am. But as much as I would love to get out of here, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm stuck too. It's in that I born here and bred here. It's a matter of pride, and I never really thought too much of it. But I was cruising the Facebook hole one day, and a scene from an old movie come up, and one actor is talking to another one, and the one actor is like, yeah, New York State is going to be the best prison that they've ever built for themselves. The other actor's like, what do you mean? He goes, New York, it's a matter of personal pride. They take pride in the fact that they built that city, that they conquered that land, that they built the Empire State, and that personal pride is going to be what keeps them stuck in there instead of getting out when they need to.
Yeah.
And yeah, but
that's where my background, like, I'm not real close to, my parents or my sibling. The only thing that's keeping me here right now is, my wife and the ability to move right now.
Yeah,
But it's coming later, as the years go on. She's always been opposed to moving out of New York because of her family. She's very close with her family.
Mm-hmm.
So it's come to the point now where even her parents are like, hey, we need to get the heck out of here, And that has opened the door for me to say, hey, let's start looking in a couple years.
Just because you can.
She's all about it now. Yeah. This is great. But
see, I struggle with the whole,
with the leaving because I've become family. I have friends that are now my family. So that's what I struggle with. Because I will miss that, but I've had that lifestyle of
you packed up and moved
so many times in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Just from growing up in the military and being in the military, and then outside of the military, I've lived all over the world. So I can pick up and I can go, and it doesn't bother me. I will make new friends, but I will miss the family that I've created for
100%.
myself.
I think that would be the biggest thing.
I'd
miss the so many people that I met here if I were to leave, and it would be really hard, honestly. But I'm doing it for a reason, that whatever my personal interest is and my family's interest, it's got to happen. I told my parents that if they moved south, I would go with them.
What about you, Silas?
For me, I kind of see it differently. I want to build myself to have the ability to move it as freely as possible. As of right now, I can't do that because I am not financially able to do that. But being a homeowner at such a young age, it has obligated me financially to stay in one spot. And now that I see that, I do wrestle with selling the house. I probably almost sold the house probably 32 times.
Especially about 6 months ago when it was through the roof.
At least 18 since he's been working with me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny talking to the guys.
Is that because of working with you, or
no?
No, but I don't really have like I wouldn't say home. Like I see New York as a state that I grew up in. I was born in Hawaii, Paradise Island, and I see home kind of there. I haven't been back there since I was 6, so it's kind of hard for me to say that. So for me, it's more like a journey back home than it is more of like a fight to stay here. But kind of like you said, I have created a family here that I adore. I kind of want to fight for that. But like I said, I want to be able to move as freely as possible as a traveler, not really as looking for a home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I liked how you answered that question. You mentioned pride and preventing people from leaving because this is where we built ourselves up, and I know someone that was like, I ain't leaving. I'll stay here and take it to the grave.
That's
And I'm like, I get it, but you're still an American no matter where you go. That's what it's about, is American pride, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I'll the way we've been treated here, I don't think it's worth taking to the grave. But this country that we live in, 100% is worth taking to the grave.
Oh yeah,
Did-
yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Do you think that, and I agree with you guys 110% on that, I still believe, as bad as this country is, I still believe that this country has the same redemption story afforded to it that we all have with our faith in Christ. It ain't about our rearview mirror, it's about our windshield. It ain't about where you've been, it's about where you're going. But gentlemen, it's getting late. I want to say thank y'all for coming in and sitting down. I think it's been great. And Tyler, I think this was a perfect representation of what the rally point is supposed to be. Just a couple of people who don't have the answers but are comfortable enough to admit that they don't know the answers, trying to help each other out.
Yeah.
Figure out this crazy world.
Thanks for being here, Tyler.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you guys want to cover? No?
No,
Any
I'm
other? All right. Before we leave, I've been I do my best to get up here and read my Bible every day and things like that, and sometimes I get it right, sometimes I don't. But one verse, and I hope you guys. Well, I don't care if you mind. It's going down.
Do it?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it anyways. But it's just been real funny because in doing this, like, I've struggled with stuff. I've been let down by people and things like that, and I kept just asking God, like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What do I got to do? What do I got to do? What do I got to do? And I kept putting faith on me. What do I got to do? And for about 3 days, I set my Bible down on the table here to do my Bible study, and I would always open up to the same chapter. And I've read it before, and when you read the scripture, it'll talk to you differently every time you read it. You'll always glean something new if you allow the Holy Spirit to talk to you. But I was flipping through, and the Bible just kept opening up to Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5. Verses 5 through 10, and this is what it says. This is what the Lord says: "Cursed is the one who trusts in man, who draws strength from mere flesh, and whose heart turns away from the Lord. That person will be like a bush in the wastelands. They will not see prosperity when it comes. They will dwell in the parched places of the desert, in a salt land where no one lives. But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be planted like a They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its root to the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought, and never fails to bear fruit. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve." And I just felt compelled to share that, because too many times we've sat here in our own frustration and in our own ignorance at times. What am I doing wrong, Lord? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Why is this going the way it did? And it's because we put our faith in ourselves, or because we put our faith in other people to take care of something that ultimately we should be putting our faith in the Lord for. So that's my little nugget, and I just don't know why. I just felt compelled to share that to me, because it's one of them things where it speaks to me quite a bit. And again, guys, I just want to say thank y'all for coming in and sitting down, and it's been a blast. I really enjoyed the conversation. I really enjoyed getting here to shoot the breeze and stuff like that. And it's just been a blessing for you guys to come in and sit down. Tyler, it's been a blessing for you to come and sit down.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you back. And
100%. Shoot me the text. I'll come back.
I appreciate that, man.
One thing is, although we have the same viewpoints, a lot of the same beliefs spiritually or whatever, I still learn a lot. and that's what I like. Is I can sit down at a table with 4 dudes. 2 of you I don't really know. And I haven't seen you in years. So it was nice seeing you first off. But being able to learn a lot from people who have the same viewpoints, and you just hear it put in a different way. It makes you think of it in a different way. It's cool. And I think that's what we need.
Well, thank
what we
you.
need more of,
Yeah, thank you for that. And again, the biggest thing you heard me guys ask you again and again and again, what is the solution? What is the way back? This is it. It's conversation. And you know, we didn't happen to touch on the subjects tonight. I'm a 49er, well, was a 49ers fan. You were a Bills fan. We can argue with that all day as to what team is better.
Buffalo. Excuse me. Pardon me.
I digress. You know, but at the end of the day, you can go on and like your team. I can go on and like my team, and we can still be cool. And I just, again, Tyler, thank you for the blessing of coming in and sitting down with us, man. It has been a pleasure, and I'm sorry for making the time we've seen each other so few and far between, even though we only live a couple blocks away. We'll definitely make this more of a common occurrence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all right, guys, we got anything else for anybody?
Keep your powder dry.
Yeah.
I stole your mind, bro.
All right, guys. Yeah, thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. Remember, it's time to rally the lions, call out the wolves, show compassion to the sheep. Keep your powder dry and your Bibles open. We'll talk to you next week.